So right now, a major topic of discussion, or what they call a hot button issue, would be reparations. So a lot of politicians are discussing reparations, which obviously has a lot of our people talking about reparations and getting excited about it. And it's been an issue that's been discussed for decades. I mean, for quite a long period of time now. And no one really gives detail in regards to a specific amount or who actually deserves reparations. Me personally, I have a couple opinions on it, and also have something to think about for people that's listening out there and just talking about the topic. One, when has the government ever done anything to benefit the people? When? Do you honestly think that they will actually provide something to us that will benefit us and assist us in moving forward? Reparations means repair, and they're talking about reparations for slavery. So repairing the hurt, the pain, the trauma caused by slavery. Now, I have some very strong opinions on it in regards to reparations, um, and I don't agree with reparations at all for several reasons. So many reasons I have. I don't even have a rank of importance because I feel they're all important. So I'll just start. When did slavery actually end? On documentation, it's allegedly ended in 1863. Well, chattel slavery ended in 1863. However, some slaves didn't know they until they were told in like 1865 or so. Um, but has slavery actually ended? If you read the 13th Amendment in the Constitution, it tells you right there that it never ended. Slavery can be voted upon. Slavery is actually legal. The 13th Amendment states slavery or involuntary servitude is hereby abolished, and that's the part most people discuss. They'll just quote the first half of the 13th Amendment, and according to that, slavery has ended, is over, is nothing else to it. It's gone, completely done away with it. The second half contradicts the first part. Well, just about contradicts it. So the second half says, unless you are convicted of a crime. So, therefore, it never ended, because if it still can be legal based upon certain qualifying factors, it's not eradicated. If your parents say, "I'm done whooping my kids. I'm not gonna hit y'all no more. I'm not gonna pull out a belt." If they say that part right there, they're done whooping you. But if they say, "Unless you act up," that means they still do it. So how can you repair something that's still going on if you're still gonna do it? Think about, also, let's just say hypothetically they were to give us reparations, because my thing is, we keep talking about reparations and we gonna mess around and get them, and that's gonna be the worst thing. It's gonna be bad because after if they give reparations, they're gonna say, okay, well, we paid y'all for slavery that happened in the 1800s. You don't have anything to complain about. All should be well and forgiven now. Reparations will be the apology. And that's the same thing they did with integration. Which brings me to my next point. The civil rights movement, or the human rights movements, which was it excuse me, which is what it really was, the human rights movement, as opposed to civil rights, because you couldn't look a white man in the face back then. You couldn't even think about looking at a white woman. If you actually thought about looking at a white woman, or they thought you looked at a white woman, they'll do you like they did Emmett Till, 14 years old. I used to see the pictures of Emmett Till when I was a kid in my school books, my history books. And I just would just glance by. I thought it was like, from what I saw, I thought it was a picture of African art, like a sculpture, like when they mold the clay. But anyway, my point is, the civil rights movement pushed us away from reparations. Look up the term reparations and look up who received reparations and how they received them. They moved away. They separated themselves from the government that mistreated them. The Native Americans, they drew up their own constitution or what have you. They got their own property, the reservations, and they have their own laws and bylaws, and that's how they were compensated. Us, we begged to be right up under white people. After the Jim Crow South. After slavery ended in 1860s, allegedly, our people did their own thing. Had to work for themselves, had to have their own businesses. You hear a lot about like Black Wall Street and Rosewood and certain other areas where they were all black because it was segregated back then. You couldn't be around white people. So, I guess with all the things that happened during the Jim Crow South, where they were still lynching our people say, you know what? Just trying to be good people. Said maybe if we got together with white people and we begged them to let us go to the same schools as them and work with them, maybe they won't treat us as bad. So we had the civil rights movement, and we end up getting integration. That right there, to me, was several steps backwards in actually receiving reparations, because if they treated us so bad, why would you want to be around them? They bombed the school in 63 in Selma, and killed the 4 little black girls. They were killing our leaders in the 60s. And we say, you know what? Let's just be nice and let's just march and peacefully protest, and maybe they'll respect us. It don't happen that way. Dr. King, his latest speech, one of his later speeches in his life, right before they assassinated him, was, I'm afraid I've led my people into a burning house. Integration was about getting in the house with white people. And Dr. King realized that was a fatal mistake. So, that's like if you're in a relationship with somebody and they put their hands on you and abusing you in every type of way possible, raping you, verbally abusing you, physically abusing you. And then they say, okay, I'll give you a couple of dollars, and I'm raping you in the bathroom, but then I'll be nice to you out in the kitchen. My next point, moving along. A problem I have, or I wouldn't say a problem, but one of the differences we have as people, us quote unquote conscious people, we often talk about how we look up to our ancestors. We look to our ancestors for strength, and we idolize them and things of that nature. And our people, our religious people rather, they can't understand that. they can't wrap their minds around that. They can only worship their deity. When us conscious folks say we look to our ancestors, we mean that we are a part of them. We have to represent them. So if our ancestors had a choice in who would get reparations, a lot of you Negroes wouldn't get reparations because you don't represent our ancestors. You worship everyone except our ancestors. You don't live according to how our ancestors would have wanted to live. This is reparations for slavery, right? Do you think those slaves wanted to live with white people? Do you think they said a good neighborhood is if we can live amongst white people? Go to school with white people? Work with white people? No, because they had their own culture, language, religions, spiritualities, everything, but that was taken away from them by white people. So how you want reparations for them? First, you down talk us conscious folks for looking up to our ancestors, and you don't live according to how our ancestors would have lived. You in interracial relationships. You think a good neighborhood is amongst white people. All the things our ancestors were against, you are for, but you want to get paid from their trauma, their deaths, and their horrible experiences. That's exploitation. How can you use them for your benefit? I can go on and on about that. Moving along. Reparations, in my opinion, is our people doing what we do best. Settling for whatever crumb white people decide to give us. They've stolen absolutely everything you can think of from us. Our land, our culture, our language, our lives, everything that we taught them, they've stolen it and taxed us on it, and they're selling pieces of it to us, and they made profit for several hundreds of years, and they want to give you a very, very tiny portion of what they made as compensation for what they've done. Reparations will be settling. How hypothetically, let's say they gave us each $100,000, $1 million even. Does that repay for everything that they've done? This is like a giant lawsuit, and you just settle for the first number they throw out to you. They owe us our country, our countries rather. Lives have been lost. Bloodshed. Free labor. I mean, they want to offer us pennies on the dollar for this. Speaking of the dollar is failing, right? We don't have anything substantial to back the dollar. So let's say they were going to give us the money for reparations. They'll probably give it to us when it's about to completely collapse. So if we get it, it doesn't mean anything. So who wants a failing money if it's failing? And even if it don't fail, Most of our people gonna spend the money with white people anyway, because we don't trust, or our people don't trust black businesses. So you can get the money and then go make the very same people that did this to us rich. Richer, rather. So, again, me personally, I don't agree with reparations on any front at all. None whatsoever. I just don't see how it can benefit us. They're not giving us everything that they've taken from us, then it don't matter. They haven't even thought about talking about at least an apology. They haven't even offered an apology. But it just goes to show our people are quick to just take money and run with it. Our people are always about what I call pocket reform as opposed to actual reform. When the cops kill an unarmed black woman, man, or child, the first thing our people say is sue them. Get that money. Go get the millions or whatever amount they can offer you, which is taxpayer money, doesn't even affect them. But it's nothing about the police have to be held accountable. Shouldn't that be your main goal? If the cops kill someone you love, one of your children, your husband, sister, mother, wife, husband, whoever it is, if they kill your loved one, the first thing you're thinking about is, give me some money. Not make sure this person who did it is held accountable and make sure this doesn't happen to another family so they don't feel the same grief and trauma that you feel. Yours is, let me get some money so I can go buy cars and jewelry and all the other nonsense, materialistic stuff. Your soul should not have a price, man. You should not be able to be bought. But our people worship any and everything white people bring to us. Anything that they can give to us is acceptable because you feel the problem is our people worship white people. Every little thing that they do is magnified because you look up to them. When us conscious people talk about racism, you pro-black, man, and you militant and this and that. When people call me pro-black, the first thing I say is I thank you. And by implying that, well, saying that I'm pro-black, you're implying that you are anti-black. They're like, well, what that mean? That means you against black people. Because if pro-black is a bad thing, pro just means for. So it means for. If you say you're pro-black, that means you're for black people. You see black people first and foremost. If that's a bad thing to you, then you have a problem with your own kind. Yourself first and foremost. So, don't let this topic of reparations blind you from what's really going on. They give you the little pocket change. First, they gotta decide how much is gonna be given, and then who it's gonna be given to. And again, based upon our ancestors, most of you Negroes screaming reparations don't even qualify. Not one bit. You may be a slave or enslaved like our ancestors, but you're not the same type of person as same type of people our ancestors were at all. Our ancestors would not consider you. You do not represent them. So I had a lot to say about this. I wrote a lot of stuff down. I didn't even go over it, but I just wanted to really quickly share my opinions and thoughts and uh, about how I felt about the topic. And also think about whenever something is mainstream or a topic is being spread among the masses. Think about, you also always have to remember, most of the time it's a cover up for something else. So try to figure out what exactly else is going on that they're presenting this topic of reparations for. All right, signing out. Peace.